Chairs No Waiting, episode number 289. Ernest T, Thelma, and the Fun Girl, part 2. Two Chairs No Waiting is brought to you each week by the fine folks over at Weaver's Department Store. Drop by over at Weaver's and pick up some of the amazing Mayberry things you'll find there. They got the brand new 2015 wall calendar for the Andy Griffith Show. Head over there and check it out. WeaversDepartmentStore.com. Two Chairs No Waiting is also brought to you by donations from listeners just like you. The executive producer of tonight's episode is fans just like you. Hello, everybody. I'm Alan Newsom, your host for Two Chairs No Waiting, your Andy Griffith Show fan podcast. And I am so excited every week to be here in Mayberry with you and just to spend a little bit of time talking to you about my favorite show, the Andy Griffith Show. Now, last week I was able to bring you a little bit of history from the Andy Griffith Show. Now, it was I had found a recording. If you hadn't listened to it, head over there and listen to the show. But it was episode 288. And it was the first part of this episode. You don't have to listen to that one before you hear this one because they're not in order or anything. It's just questions from the audience. But I definitely want to encourage you to make sure you go over there and check it out. But this was just a treasure I found. It was from the 1993 Mayberry Squad Car Rendezvous in Bradford, Ohio. Now, the host for the event, his name's Bob Scheib. And he put on the, I'm not really quite sure how many years, at least several years, 4 years, 5 years perhaps, of the Mayberry Squad Car Rendezvous there in Bradford. And it was basically out in a field by his house. It's in the front yard of his house, right beside his barn, which is all kind of in a field. You'll be able to see a little bit of where we're standing. We're standing in his front yard. He had built a replica of Wally's service station right there in his yard. And I got to tell you, it was a awesome thing to see and an awesome thing to be a part of. Now, we're going to be hearing stuff tonight on this podcast. They're going to be answering all kinds of questions. Now, the questions will be listed in the show notes for this episode. So if you go look at episode number 289, you'll be able to read the questions that go along with the answers they're given. You can normally hear the question or they repeat it. But if you can't, you can go over there and check it out. Or if you just want to look through them and try to figure out, about in the episode where that question's answered that you want to hear the answer to, that's a good tool for you there on the site twochairsnowaiting.com, episode 289, and you can have a list of all the questions there. So let's don't wait much longer. We've got Ernest T, I believe, is up first here, and he and Betty Lynn are standing there. So we got Howard Morris as Ernest T. Bass, Betty Lynn as Thelma Lou, and Jean Carson as Daphne, the fun girl. Hello, doll, that one. So let's go and check them out. So take it away, Howard.
Oh, dear Lord.
I've already been asked. I was wondering around a while ago.
Oh, were you, huh? Well, you heard about that.
Did any of you get to visit with Hal Smith before he
The question was, did any of the cast members get to visit with Hal Smith before he passed away?
Yes.
I was quite close with Hal, and we would meet once every couple of weeks for lunch and stuff like that. And I got married again about 8 months ago, and he brought us a wedding gift. What do you call that thing you put up on the roof that the wind blows around? A weather vane, and it was a pig. A big pig, and it's over my house now, and I look up and I see it, and there's Hal represented to me. And I miss him terribly. Yes, we were quite close.
Yeah, I also kept in touch with Hal by phone, and I had called him. I would guess it could have been maybe the day before he died, because we'd had the quake, and I knew he was in Santa Monica, and I got worried about him. So I called up and asked how he was doing, and he answered. Usually when I called Hal, I'd get a message machine, and he'd call me back or something. And he was really sounded wonderful on the phone. He told me it wasn't too bad, the damage at his house, and his son Terry had been over the day before helping him kind of straighten up. And he thought I was the sweetest girl to call him up and see how he felt and everything.
He told me that, too.
Oh, really?
What about you, Gene? You remember working with Hal?
Oh, I loved Hal Smith. He was just a marvelous man and extremely talented. I think he did, what was the main cartoon voice that Hal did?
Oh, he did so many, I don't know.
But there was one. Yes.
Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh, Jiminy Cricket, Goofy, all kinds of characters
Oh, he
on the
did them all.
Flintstones, just
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
Anybody else? This gentleman right back there. The question is, when the Darlings would play music, was that live? Did they actually play?
Yeah, they really played. They played.
Yes, yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, more yes than no.
Okay, good. This guy over here.
Howard, can you name the bodies of water?
Oh,
The question is, can Howard name the bodies of water?
Atlantic on the right. Yeah, the Atlantic Ocean on the right. The Mexican thing on the bottom. Canada on the top. And Old Male Kelsey's Woods on the left.
The question is, how much input did Andy have on the characterizations of all the parts?
Not really on the characterizations, but on the writing of the words. They hired actors who could do the character without getting goosed into it.
Ernest T., you haven't run out of rocks.
No?
You will never run out of rocks.
Is that true?
You haven't run out of rock?
Thank you, sir. God, I'm glad of that. Oh, gee. I'm so glad you came here to tell me that. What the?
Daphne and Thelma Lou still remember how to sew up their fingers.
Do Daphne and Thelma?
From George.
Remember when Goober would do
Yeah.
that?
And Judy.
Yeah, at the end of the show, he showed you how
Yeah,
to
he
sew up his
did.
fingers.
I was fascinated, in fact, watching him, because I'd never really learned to do that. I practiced a while, but I probably don't remember anymore. I don't know. Let's see. I forget. I forget.
You don't recall him doing that?
So what's happening on the actual videotape is now
But I never tried to do
Betty
it
and
myself.
Jean
I guess I
are
did.
both trying to figure out how George Goober sewed his fingers up. So they're telling the people in the audience are actually telling them, you know, it starts at the pinky and you come up through all the fingers and then pull it through. So they were trying to do it, but you know, you just couldn't do it unless you're a Goober.
Hey, I gotta say something. You guys are terrific out there in the sun, looking at these three dum-dums
feeling good up
and
here.
coming up with great questions, and I thank you for it. We thank you.
And for being here. Some of you have driven miles and miles and miles to get here.
We love
And we're
you
really
so
grateful.
much.
Thank you.
And you are America, and you're us, and we feel like such a part of you.
Sir?
Oh, thank you.
Huh?
Did you have a burning desire for Charlene?
Charlene!
Oh, Charlotte.
Oh, I had the hots for her. Oh, yeah.
Adorable, too.
Yeah, well, I almost married Barney. I would marry anybody. But Barney happened to be there looking very feminine, rather lovely, actually.
This girl, she wanted to know, were you still in love with Hoggett Winslow?
Oh, yeah, I would not put Hoggett. That's French. Yeah, Hoggett's French, and I kissed her on the jaw. Shiny uniform. Uniformed. Uniformed. Huh? Oh, yeah, I can't even say it.
Kiss my mouth.
You gotta kiss me on my mouth. You guys remember stuff that we have long forgotten. And that's really exciting and thrilling. It's wonderful.
Next question.
It's nuts. When Barney and Andy finally got mad at you because everybody caught you in the jailhouse. Threw you out. You and Skippy and Daphne. You remember what you said to her when you left?
The question is, when, what was it again, when Barney,
When they finally got mad.
when they finally got mad at you yeah, right, you caused all the commotion and they threw you out of the jail.
You said one last thing to Skippy
You said one last thing to Skippy before.
Just Bruce, you can't be nice.
Right.
Just proves you can't be nice to people.
Hey, let's hear it again.
It just proves you can't be nice to people.
The question is, how did you keep on getting out of jail?
That's my business. I don't know. I just suddenly turned up in the diner, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's for me to know and for you to
Wonder.
I have no idea. That's movie magic. Yes, sir. That's a.
Do you stay in touch with George Jameson, Skippy?
The question was, do you stay in touch with Joyce Jameson, of course?
Unfortunately, Joyce is not with us anymore.
No, she
When
died.
did she pass on?
Oh,
Took it.
quite a few years ago.
She took a cab.
Yeah.
See, I do that all the time. I do
Everybody loved Joyce. I think she was just about Aaron's favorite person in the whole cast. He loved her.
She got to do a lot of Gomer Piles after he left to do
I
that.
did one go with Piles.
Let's go right here.
And from one West Virginia girl to another, I'd like you to join our chapter as an honorary member.
You've just been invited to join a West Virginia chapter as an honorary member.
You ain't heard the last of Ernest too bad.
And in my hometown, Charleston, I was told early yesterday morning on the radio, they called me from Charleston, and they said that there's now a chapter of the Fun Girls from Mount Tyler.
Too hot?
Yeah. Okay, I'm an honorary member.
You okay with the heat and everything there? Okay.
Okay, you're.
Yeah.
How many hours a day would they have to rehearse to?
The question is, how many hours a day did you have to rehearse to do a half-hour program?
8 hours.
And was that 5 days a week?
No, two.
For 2 actually rehearsal and then 3 shoot.
It was 5 days a week.
In the long run.
Yeah. And you think it's easy, huh?
How often do you go back?
Question is, how often do you go back to West Virginia?
I haven't been back for about 5 years.
You ought to go back.
Oh, I'm going back right when I leave here tomorrow. I'm going down with all the hollows and the hollers and the cricks and.
See, my husband and I are from Virginia, about 3 hours from Charleston.
Yeah.
We know the area.
Yes. Well, I have some family left there and a lot of old friends there.
Okay.
Yes.
What was it like? Oh, yeah.
What was it? Okay, this is the all-time question to all of you. What was it like to work with Howard Mcnair?
I would like to tell a little semi-sad story about Howard. We all adored him. He was an incredible man and an incredible actor, but mainly an incredible man. And he had a stroke, and he was out for a while, and he came back, and I happened to be directing that show. And he was supposed to give Andy a haircut, so he had to stand behind the chair. But he couldn't stand. He wasn't capable of standing. So do you know what a bosun's chair is? You don't know. It's a thing ropes and a little seat like a swing, and we hung that behind the chair so you couldn't see it, and he sat for the entire thing and cut his hair that way. It was very touching.
And he'd use one arm, the other was kind of...
Not you.
Yeah, but he would cut with the one, and he seemed to cover all of that very well.
Remember his wife yelling at him?
Yeah.
Pick up your legs.
I know.
Walk.
I know. Well, she really was a driving force and helped him in many ways.
What about you, Gene?
Oh, I'm okay.
What you remember about Howard?
Oh, well, I did the one where we were convicts with Howard, and I had, over the years, I had done an awful lot of live television, and even though this wasn't live, it kind of frightened me, and I knew that under his hat he had they had a steel thing there. But so many times, the prop people are not always perfect. And sometimes it takes a lot of hit to break a sugar glass, you know, which I broke a lamp over his head, which was made of spun sugar, well, whatever they make those of. Sugar, isn't it? But I had a bad experience with another one, with a marvelous actor named Frank Lovejoy, one of the best actors of his day. And also very, very big in radio, Frank Love. But I'd had a bad experience with him where I had to hit him with something. And then I'd had a bad experience with somebody else in live television with a gun, where they hadn't put the thing in right, the shot, or what on earth is that? I don't know. That somebody's pen leaked on me, obviously. But getting back, anyhow, it frightened me that I was afraid I might hurt dear Howard. But you know, the thing about Howard is, I'm talking now. Ernest, I don't know, he might throw a rock at me.
I'll catch you in the day or in the night.
See, now, anyhow, dear, he was a love to work with, and that whole show really was about Howard, you know. It was his show, really, and he was precious, that's all.
Miss Lady,
Could I say something? We kind of blithely talk about live television. Do you understand what that means? An awful lot of people don't. Live means that as I'm saying it now, you are seeing it. It's not tape, it's not film, it's not recorded in any way, it is alive. And we, all of us, worked live television. I gotta tell you, that is so scary. You make a mistake, you fix it. On the air, as you do it. Just wanted to acquaint you with that.
That's true. Your adrenaline is so high,
Yes.
that you can't believe what you're like. And you rehearse longer than you would for film. But even so, it's like that opening night, and that's it. I mean, you know, and it is a very and you had to learn a lot of other things like underdressing so that you could run over real fast and change have that underneath, or oh God, I'll never forget live television as long as I live.
And do you know the word kinescope? They were done on kinescope. It was something that was within the cameras.
Well,
and
they had no cable,
right?
you know.
Really,
and
Filming the TV show.
well, it was a 16 millimeter film taken right off the TV set.
And it wasn't that clear.
Kept for legal records.
Yeah.
And they were sent real fast then to other parts of the country, like shows was done that way, wasn't it, Howard?
We do it in New York, and 2 weeks later it showed in L.A.
There was no cable in those days. You know, it came much later.
You couldn't. They didn't have. Yeah, you understand that?
Cross-country cable. Nothing was live from New York. In California.
We're going to ask questions about this later, so you better.
Yeah, we're giving our little lesson in television.
I think we ought to let them get out of the sun.
They don't.
Yeah, they're really warm.
Dogs and Englishmen, huh?
I'd like to open my umbrella and let you all get under it, but I don't think it'd make it.
This lady right here. Has there ever been any talk of making a new series about Mayberry?
Yeah, and several attempts, but none of them. You want me to lecture on politics? And, no,
I'd like
I
to
can't.
know.
I can't. You know, like they won't do shows about old people because the networks have figured out that they don't make money from that. The truth is that is the biggest support for sales in the country.
It's getting more so.
Who what?
Who are you calling old people?
Me.
Us.
I don't call myself.
You just lower your voice, and that's
Here's a fella right
Never
here.
will be old either, Daphne.
This lady's first, though.
That fella that looks like Jack Nicholson.
What, honey?
Acting lessons. Anybody take them?
from life
No,
mostly.
I
mostly.
never studied. I guess it might be pretty darn evident, but I have never studied acting. I studied dancing from the time I was 5. I danced, I sang professionally. and everything, and gradually went into radio enacting when I was 13. And I always wanted, I had speech class, you know, and I did the senior play and things like that, but no. Other than that, I felt a loss of it in a way because so many people were going to Actors Studio and they were Neighborhood Playhouse and the Pasadena Playhouse and the Royal Academy, and I thought, wouldn't that be wonderful to get all of the technical ability to do these things, because sometimes you do feel a little lost. You know, you do. You're not sure quite, but gee, I've done the best I could, and that was it.
Not good enough. Not good enough.
I know, but it's the best I could do.
No, there's a thing called talent, ma'am, and that's there, or it isn't.
You're born with it, they say, right?
Well, I went to Carnegie Tech, which, now it's Carnegie Mellon University, but I only went there a year. Somebody came and found me. No, I was invited to do some summer stock the following summer in Long Island, and I just never went back to school because I started working, and I learned an awful lot more, as Howard and it's Betty both said.
Yeah, it's true.
You learn from doing.
On the job.
Yeah, and I've done a lot of workshop over the years. As a matter of fact, now and then I go to a little group down in Palm Springs, and we sort of critique each other.
Anybody?
Two questions. Do you have any idea you were making television history at the time you were doing it? And can you comment on the change in the characters from the first to the second year? Would it be less big deal?
Okay, first question was for the people in the back. When you were doing the show 30-some years ago, did you have any idea of what it would, what it would turn out to be? Anything?
I didn't realize that, as I've said, that here we all are. Who would have dreamed it, you know? But as far as the changes from the first year, I think that was the other part of the question.
Yeah, the second question was the difference between the changes between the first year and the second year.
Well, Andy had a lot to do with that, I felt. He began to feel that he didn't want it to be too far, in a way, and he began to kind of watch for that. And I think it was a good idea. It kept a kind of middle thing there that it still had some of it, but he didn't want it to go in too far in another direction. And Andy, I think, basically was the one that kind of kept watch on that. Like I dropped my attempt at, there were so many, they got it, so many Southern accents from different places, because, naturally, Don had an accent, Andy did, Jim had, they were all different locales, a few other people in there, and I was doing a Southern accent, which had been acceptable in things like Cheaper by the Dozen, by Lamar Trotty and Walter Lang, who were both Southerners, and all these, I'd done Southern parts before, but they finally said, don't do it anymore, Betty. There's too much of it, and just, I said, fine. So all I did was just drop the G's and a few things going and coming and a little bit like that, and left it there.
Okay, this gentleman right here.
Hey, Betty?
Yeah.
When you did filming of Return to Mayberry, there was a scene originally there where Miller sang at Kurt and Marty's wedding, and that scene was omitted.
Oh yes, I felt very bad because it was he sang so beautifully that day. Yeah.
Why they left that out?
Well, I think it was time. When they began to get the commercials in and things. In fact, now that show is rerun. They've cut it more and more because they keep adding more commercials and making more money. And a lot of the things that were in the original have been cut out or chopped down to nothing where it means nothing sometimes. I mean, it's too bad in that, well, it's good for the people making the money, but for those of us who kind of like to keep it the way it was, that isn't going to happen. No.
What can we do about those tags and stuff that they cut out, on some of the stations? Can we do anything to get that back? We always see the whole thing.
Well, you can write, I guess.
Pitch and gripe, that's all.
Yeah.
The question was, is there anything you can do about time cut out of the show? That was the question. And
well, those stations that carry it, or even if there's a network at some point, But your stations locally that carry it, you can inquire about it and kind of do it enough that you bug them enough, I guess you'll get some kind of reaction.
I know in the originals, the characters supported the advertisers. Which they don't today, the advertisers are separate. I wonder if actors have any feel for that, if you were doing, and I know they seem like one or two, so I don't even know who did that. But I've seen
commercials?
Grape nuts? Grape nuts, I did. Yeah.
Felt like you were selling a show or you liked better selling. I know that's an asking question.
Yeah, I had to do it as Thelma Lou, and they weren't great commercials, I didn't feel, but they almost broke my neck on one of them, but...
Well, a lot of time the commercials were wrote into the scripts, sort of, so to speak. You see what I mean? Like at the end when they would come back and do a commercial break, the commercial would gear towards what the particular episode was about. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of times. And
yeah,
of course, General Foods, right.
Yeah. Well, you know, General Foods was a great sponsor as far as that went. But I know in one of them I did, I had grape nuts all my life, but in my family, we always boiled a little water and poured it on grape nuts, just a little bit, to soften them and make them warm. And when they gave me this dish with nothing and expected me to go, I thought I was eating gravel. I wasn't used to it, and I think they were so angry with me because I kept saying, so finally, I did more of them though, but then they got this idea of flying me with the harness and the, you know, like Peter Pan. And this was a real joke. They got me all fitted up and they told me they got the fellow that flew Lucy. And he was terrific. And not to worry. And we're in this huge stage that is as high as the tippy top of that tree or more. I mean, it just went up and up and up. So and he weighs me and he on me and he weighs the weights and he's doing all this for this commercial. I mean, it's a minute commercial here, a second or something. And I'm supposed to sit. And it was hard because of the way they had me put. And I was eating, I finally got it and put a little water on that grape nut. So I was eating that and going, that is so good. It's like going to heaven or something. And then I was to rise slowly out of camera. Something went wrong with the weights, and I flew out of there like a shot out of hell, and I ended up with my neck. I got this hard jolt clear at the top of this thing, and I was like this, hanging up there. It took the breath away. I was scared to death. And they said, are you all right? And I'm saying, anyhow, they brought me down. And they said, Betty, we're so sorry. That won't happen again. I thought, I was weak. I was never so shocked in my life. And it really hurt me a lot. That was that great guy that flew Lucy. I don't think he did that to Lucy. Or they were making it up that he really didn't fly Lucy.
And you think it's easy, huh?
Yeah.
Well, listen, folks, that's going to about wrap it up for what we're going to do up here. Now, I know everybody's wanting to get pictures with all the stars and everything. We've been up here for almost an hour now, so...
Who is that for?
There's a rock.
He wears glasses. He did say,
It's Ernest T.
It's me, it's Ernest T.
Yeah, I love that. It is true of all the people. I think he has more people quoting than almost anybody else.
He does.
And we all pick up on it, you know.
No, it's me, it's Ernest T.
Hey, we gotta thank you again, and we'll be here to...
We'll be doing autographs.
I'll be over in
different
that
areas.
tent over there, the green
I don't
tent.
know which tent I'm
With
in, but
You're over here.
Lee Grind,
And I'm here? I'm here in jail.
and he's here. And goodbye, dolls.
All right. Well, that's That's it. I got all excited and was watching and not paying attention. It's over. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was from the Mayberry Squad Car Rendezvous in 1993. That is just such a great thing to be able to just have and be able to see. I hope you guys enjoyed it. The last two podcasts are long. This one's going to be even longer. But I really think it's worth it, and I didn't want to break it up into 3 parts because this was just too fun to see. The questions were wonderful. And I hope you guys will excuse if you actually watch the video, because if you've been listening to it, there is a video version that you can go over and watch at twochairsnowaiting.com. You'll be able to see the video of everything that was going on. I was the one recording, so I was holding a camcorder in my hand, so it's a little bit shaky, but it's still really neat to be able to see Betty Lynn, Jean Carson, and Howard Morris up on that stage answering the questions, concerned about the crowd that was standing out in the sun, listening and listening to all their answers and asking questions. Now, the host I should have mentioned at the beginning was Dennis Hasty and Mark Golden Richards. They did a show in Cincinnati. Good Morning Mayberry was the name of it, I believe. I hope I got that right. They were doing a radio show on the on radio. And so they were hosting the event, and they did a great job, Dennis and Mark both. So I believe that's about all I've got for you this week, folks. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I want to just let you know that if you're interested, the Mayberry Bible Study podcast just came out with an episode about Opie and the Spoiled Kid. So if you'd like to check that out, you can go to Mayberry Bible Study Podcast.com. So go and check that out. You can at least listen to the whole first part of the show because it's all the episode. All right, folks, I'd love to hear from you. Drop by twochairsnowaiting.com and leave a comment, or email me at floyd@imayberry.com, or even better, call me at 888-684-8415. And we'll see you next time, folks, on Two Chairs No Waiting. Good night, everybody.